Okay, can everybody hear me? All right, there we go. My grandfather loved his wife, Ginny. There she is. His 3 children and his 8 grandchildren. As a retired accountant, he played the stock market. That was his game. He enjoyed long walks on the beach, but not the romantic kind necessarily. He listened to MSNBC stock radio reports on his Walkman. He loved a soup and a half sandwich for lunch. He loved steak and chocolate ice cream for dinner. And he ordered his Dewar's on the rocks. He loved cold melon in the morning for breakfast and Pepperidge Farm cookies for an afternoon snack. Oatmeal raisin and Sausalito were his favorites. He took daily strolls and swam laps of backstroke in the pool at his condo. He always chatted with the valet guys. He owned nice loafers. And he loved Broadway and the show Anything Goes. Waiters and waitresses knew him fondly as Mr. Stewart. And he was a traveler, but he stayed close to his own beaten path. And he did not like facts to get in the way of a good story. He met Truman, Einstein, and JFK, and he served in World War II. He was an eternal optimist, and he was one of the luckiest men on earth. And he showed me the world. And I am here tonight to share with you the 3 most valuable pieces of wisdom I learned from him. When I was in the 4th grade, my grandmother, Ginny, passed away from breast cancer. My grandfather, Bill Stewart, there's my grandmother. Ginny's loyal husband of 48 years was stricken with grief and depression. He was in a pretty dark place, and he decided that he needed to do something to pull himself out of this rut. I'm doing pretty good on time, actually. So a month or so after my grandmother had passed away, my family took my grandfather out to dinner one night. And in the middle of the dinner table conversation, my grandfather turned to me and said, "Davy, old boy, how'd you like to go to Alaska?" I thought he was joking, but he was not. I said, "Sure, Pop-Pop." And that was it. 6 weeks later, he and I traveled to Alaska, and we spent nearly a month there, just he and I. We boarded a small cruise ship, we saw lots of wildlife, and we made a ton of friends. I was 10 years old then, and for nearly the next decade of my life, my grandfather took me on a trip to a different part of the world every summer. Until my senior year of high school when he eventually passed away. There we are at the dinner table. So during our time together, my grandfather and I, we ate out quite a bit. And often at the dinner table, at the lunch table, my grandfather would just turn to me and he'd say, "I can't think of a single person I'm mad at right now. Can you think of anyone you're mad at?" And that's wisdom tidbit number 1. Now, before our waiter or waitress could even take our drink order, my grandfather would ask them for their first name, and he would refer to them by their first name for the remainder of the meal. We never had bad service. That's wisdom tidbit number 2. If we have time, I may throw in a fourth. Now, while leaving the restaurant, my grandfather would often turn to me and say, Davey, old boy, you don't mind if I call you old boy, do you? No, Pop. No, Pop, I'd say. I don't mind. He'd say, what do you say we take the scenic route home? And we'd cruise home slowly on back roads, listening to jazz or National Public Radio. That was the original ending, but we have a little time, so I'm going to throw in a fourth. And this actually may be the most important one of all. My fourth most important piece of wisdom my grandfather ever gave me and my dad was never pass up the opportunity to take a whiz. Thank you.